introduction. Oh, do you want to just share your screen? I can, you can take the introductions from there. All right, I'll stop sharing. Yes. Great.
Exactly. Oh, good, good. You all see my screen. That's quite fine. It's so lovely to be here again, and thank you so much for inviting me and for the people watching. This is definitely a topic close to my heart. But first of all, I'm Tineke Zoet. I am a Dutch person living in Scotland, UK, and I'm an ex-seafarer. I used to sail as a chief officer, although that was my last role. I've been through the ranks though, and I've done have lots of um side jobs that I couldn't really quite find my way, and I struggled a bit with that until I came with my husband to Scotland for his PhD, and I got offered a job in at the university for accident analysis in shipping. And I, as a result of that, because it was a part-time research job, I could just do a Master of Philosophy for free on the side. And I decided to do that in human factors and shipping and mega yachts, though, for soft factors. And it was such a beautiful journey as it sparked all the philosophy, and human factors sparked a passion within me to dig a little bit more deeper into human soft factors and why we do the things we do. So I've also worked in as a project leader in e-learning, and that's where I met Catherine Logie, one of the ambassadors of Maritime CEO, and she's been my mentor for long. I'm now a workplace coach, in short, for the maritime industry as seafarers and people in the industry. I believe that with human-centered leadership, that would be forward rather than just traditional leadership and all the bullying, harassment, and that we see at sea. So that's in short. So I heard somebody's voice. Okay. Shall I just begin with the presentation, and Jenna?
Yes. Yes.
Good. I will put this in small, up there. So highly sensitivity for women and navigating diversity in maritime is close to my heart. Until I hit my 40th birthday, I didn't know I was a highly sensitive person. So what is a highly sensitive person? Like you hear a lot bit about the negativity, like, oh, you're so sensitive. The younger generations, oh, they're snowflakes, they're so sensitive. And that's not what sensitivity means. It's like, if having a soft heart in a cruel world is if that is a weakness, I rather have that weakness, and it's definitely a courage. So these are a few of the ships I sailed on, by the way, a long time ago. So what I will a little bit about that. When I hit my 40th birthday, I started working as a coach and trained as a coach in Edinburgh here. And there was a lovely lady who was a coach in high sensitivity. And for fun, I did the exercise quiz that you can also do on my website, by the way, to find out if you're highly sensitive. And I ticked all the boxes. But, I never seen myself as highly sensitive at all. So it's not weakness. It's not you're crying all the time. It's not that you can't take a joke, or you have to tiptoe around somebody and a bully and you can't take that in. That's not what it is. It's like you're highly sensitive for crowds, for lights, for energies of other people. And that's where we're going to talk about a little bit, and how you can strengthen yourself in a leadership position. So sensitivity isn't a weakness. I will say that again and again until everybody really sink in. It's a strength. So being deeply in tune with your emotions and your environment can help you navigate life with empathy and power. So a little bit about HSP versus, so that's highly sensitive person, versus traditional leadership. and why that sensitivity matters in the maritime industry, and of course, a few practical tips as well. So the official label that Elaine Aron came with in the 1990s, and she has a beautiful book written about that as well. That was the first time it sort of surfaced, is a neurodivergent individual, and they have a sensitive nervous system, so they can absorb and process more information than average. I think that's a bit of a, like, still you don't know what that really means for you. And I always like to give you an example of a sensor. As you're in the maritime industry, maybe you're engineering, you know what a sensor is like, and if it's like really highly sensitive and really highly responsive, it's if you have a light sensor above your home and you're in the middle of the night and it's all of a sudden it starts to come on, you're thinking, oh my god, it's like, what's that? This must be a person or a burglar coming on, but it can be a bird. So that's highly sensitive for that as well. So highly responsive or highly perceptive, that is different labels for the same thing. And you're constantly picking up on subtle changes in the environment and in people, and you process information more deeply. So there's more information coming in per unit per time. So no wonder if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and nobody really has any idea what you're talking about.
I'm just going to do one quick setting on the thing. So that I used to unmute. Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that no one auto unmutes there. Go ahead.
Let me know if you're fine, and I can.
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So this diagram that I came across from Jen Grenham and Andre Solo in their book, Sensitivity, is like they compared it with seeing a lot of color. So if you're seeing the left side of the diagram, it's like, how many shades of blue are there? Well, maybe normal people, define normal, see maybe 2 or 3 shades of blue. And whereas a highly sensitive person will see maybe 10, 20, or 25, depending on where you are in your highly sensitivity. So I thought that was a really nice comparison to explain to other people what highly sensitive person, what that really means in the sense of getting more data in. So as well, I knew way before I knew I was a highly sensitive person, I was an empath. I struggled with toxic work environments. I attracted bullies. I attracted narcissism. I got like migraines quite a lot at work, and if energy and emotion really run high, I really get visual migraines. So that's like spots in front of my eyes, and I didn't really know what that meant. I thought it was maybe just being silly. But I knew I was an empath, and an empath is a highly sensitive person that really absorbs emotions from other people as well. So there's different sensitivities on the spectrum. I'm introvert, but although I think I'm an extroverted introvert, but I need to have my energy in nature or when I'm alone to recharge. So not all highly sensitive persons are introverted. So you can be extrovert as well. And you're really sensitive to external stimuli. So one of my neighbors is working in an office, and she's getting really serious headaches and fatigue by overhead lights in the office. And what doctors do, if you're going to tell that to your local doctor, they will send you getting some pills or medication for that. So be aware that that's definitely not necessary at all. And it's also sound and textures. Highly sensitive people tend to be big thinkers. We're going deep quite quickly. So networking and chitter chatter, we get like drained quite quickly. We love to go into a topic, set our teeth in it, and go deep quite right away. So don't be scared of that, although we maybe scare people away. I'm really sensitive to alcohol. I'm not drinking any alcohol or a caffeine, only 1 cup a day because I'm really sensitive for that. So that's a typical HSP trait. And a lot of us also have a deep physical response to a heightened stress response. So there are physical symptoms, like think about autoimmune diseases or something that happens in your environment, like that causes a lot of stress. You immediately get eczema or that manifests in different way, headaches and things like that. We are high performers mostly, people pleasers as well. Be careful for that. Perfectionist, and also that, of course, that can lead to burnout quite quickly. Oh yeah, the famous HSPs. What we think, we can't ask them. Nelson Mandela, Albert Einstein, Carl Jung, Van Gogh, the painter. There are lots of artists and actors that you see are deeply in tune with their emotional side of it, and they are mostly highly sensitive people as well. And that's where you see a lot of people get drawn to alcoholism or pills, or to drown out the enormous amount of information that comes in. So why sensitivity matters in maritime leadership, and that's interesting because there has been done some research in this as well, and it's 15 to 25 or 20% of the population supposed to be highly sensitive, and that is also we have an increased brain activity in areas associated with empathy, awareness, and emotional processing. You can apparently measure that. There's sort of around 38% is more likely to inspire trust and loyalty amongst team members. So, where empathic leadership is definitely to have we inspire more trust and loyalty. So for the table, I would not go through it all because we don't have time for that, but we can maybe have slides later. The traits of an HSP, and I talked about it a little bit before. There's deep empathy for other people, deep thinking, attention to detail. Because we take in more information from our environment and other people. There's strong intuition, although if you're not in tune with that, you might not know that you have that, or you get the famous goosebumps and you think, oh, something's not right here. Follow that lead. And there's overstimulation quite quickly from your senses, and crowds don't like crowds. Perfectionism, collaboration, and an ethical compass. But you have the potential downsides as well, like where do you need to pay attention to? Like you absorb stress quite quickly, risk of burnout. There's a risk of over-analyzing, delays in decision making. It's just, you can fall into that trap. Also, if you're overwhelmed by noise and chaos, you can't think straight. And then you struggle with assertiveness. That's a typical HSP trait as well, because you are a people pleaser. You feel what other people are feeling, and you feel when you walk into a room mostly what's happening immediately, what's and other people might not pick up on that. So you are trying to be a mediator between people as well, into the room, as well as what's going on in your own head. So there could be some frustration as well around that, and you have a really strong sense of ethical compass, so that sometimes can clash with other leaders or with your environment. So that brings me to traditional leaders versus benefits and burdens. I made a table for you to think, like, you might think of a situation where a traditional leader might be really good for you. Like, if you're an army situation, you're in the army, and they just made it up out of the blue, and you're just immediate action need to be taken. And a traditional leader might be really good for that. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to people please. You are quick and efficient in your decision making. Just get over there, yeah. Clear, direct. These people. There's army people, and I can't say guys or girls as well now. Strong authority. It keeps structure. And you can imagine that you don't need an HSP leader in that sense. So if I say HSP leader, I also will say you can be empathic leader. So one doesn't necessarily mean the other, but if you are HSP, you need to be aware of these burdens that you can overanalyze and that can lead to project delays. But the good news is when you are so in tune with your intuition and you can feel what other people feel, you pick up on subtleties, you are really good with the detail and the nitty-gritty of things that other people might overlook. So you focus on your strength into crisis handling, and you consider both the solutions for the team, the company, but especially for your people. You're a people person, and you can prevent escalation from conflict into understanding. This is your strength. The people are your strength. And I sincerely believe that being an empathic leader and being as a human-centered leader, placing the people not as resources and replaceable people in top front and asking their opinion and lead with that kind of equality is more important than anything else, and that also leads to safe environments, and that's really, really important for the maritime industry. So for a case study, like there's, for I've just mentioned, for a traditional leadership, there's command and control and quick decision making is necessary, but you are empathy driven, inclusive and reflective, and your strengths are your emotional acknowledgements and your needs, and you can encourage open communication. So think about, even if you're not a team leader, think about how you, with your colleagues, how you naturally function. Are there people and colleagues around you that naturally come to you for advice and shoulder, and you are uplifting other people quite quickly, but you also get drained out at the same time? Just trying to find that balance is really, really important for you to do your work more carefully. So that comes, then I come to, and this is the last slide, so don't bear with. There's some practical tips for you. So how can you make sure that you do not burn out, and if you are a natural giver, how can you make sure you are still that person and without burning out? And I recently had a client, and she worked with a suicidal helpline in the maritime industry, and this is big for seafarers. Yeah, there's lots and horrible things going on. And she burned out, and she got like quite depressed herself, but she wanted to give because she'd been there, and she wanted to give something back. And she said, well, you are a really good person for that helpline, but you burn out every time because you feel so deeply. So this might not be the best role for you. And the best role for her, and we established that, was training other people for the frontline telephone service. And she would be a fantastic trainer because she knew exactly what to do, but without the emotional burden. So think about your job role, and HSPs are better in some roles than in other roles. Think about where you are perfect. A balance will lie, and how your energy is divided during the day. You need more alone time than other people. Acknowledge that. You need a calm workspace, so don't be scared to talk to your boss about where your desk sits. Maybe an open window. You need to have like fresh air preferably, or maybe work from home. There's a practice of mindfulness. You can just go out for lunch break. You'll communicate your needs is really important, but also set your boundaries. And that's like, I can talk to clients for 3 months for setting boundaries, and that's not an easy thing to do. You prioritize your rest and your health, of course, and focus on your strength, not seeing a sensitivity as a weakness at all. It isn't. You are more creative than other people, so use that, and you are a visualizer. Use that for your, to communicate better in your job role as well. And you minimize multitasking. We're naturally not always, there's exceptions, of course. We're not naturally good multitaskers, because we want to do one role really, really good. And then, of course, seek support. So that's me. That's very quick. Of course, there's so much more to it. And you can, I love to talk to people. I love to ask you what your job role is and what you do on a daily basis. I do free energy MOTs, energy audits for your emotional energy for people that last like 50 minutes to an hour. You can do that with me. I also have, and I don't know if you can see that as well on my website, and Tanas will share the link with you afterwards. I have an ebook developed especially for you that called From Overwhelmed to In Control, and 5 ways from overwhelm to in control for HSPs and leaders to navigate stress and lead with confidence. So that is yours as well, and I will share that all with you. And I love your questions. So back over to you, Tenas.
Yes. So what we're going to do now is just to respect time for like questions, but also have the networking round, is we're going to set aside 10 minutes for questions. And if anyone has any questions, you will have to raise your hand, or you could comment in the text box, and we'll try to take up around 2 questions. In case we do get a lot more questions and we're trying to and we want to answer them, what we'll do is we'll do the networking round, and then we'll come back and then we'll take more questions. So so while we're waiting for some questions, do you have like what's a commonly asked question, or maybe if I can rephrase it in the sense of, what's the first moment where okay, we have a question from Anne, so I'll just ask her question, which is, does experiencing trauma have a role in whether someone is or becomes an HSP, or is there an element of nurture or not nature?
Yeah, that's a good question. And yes, experienced trauma. Do you mean like how are highly sensitive people?
So I think what she's
Um,
trying to ask is, if you've witnessed something traumatic, or if you've been through something traumatic, does that say turn you into an HSP?
yes, from a very early age as well. That most people that I know are highly sensitive people and empaths are born with some kind of trauma. It's either you're born with it and you're being genetically, it's genetic, as well as being um, born from trauma. So for me, it's trauma, and I had a difficult childhood, and that for me, my senses are as a survival mechanism. I got really highly sensitive. I opened all my senses to make sure I survived the environment I was in. And that is how empaths are born, and how highly sensitive people are born as well. But there's definitely, I think you can develop that on later age as well, because all the neural pathways in our brain can be um re- reshaped. How you say that? Yeah, so there's definitely but that means also that I don't think you can switch off. There's no cure. Let's say there's no cure for highly sensitive people, like there's no cure for autism or ADHD. Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. It can be personal trauma or even integrated trauma,
I actually
especially
had a,
during formative years. Yes, that's
yeah, I
what
had a
I noticed.
question about, so is there anything that HSP would be confused with? Like any other type?
Yes, there's, well, there's neurodivergent people who are on the spectrum of autism, HDAD, and I know very little about that, are also highly sensitive people. But not, of course, not all highly sensitive people are autistic or on the spectrum on the other way around. Same, not all highly sensitive people are empaths, but empaths is a part of being highly sensitive, and there's, especially for highly sensitive people as well, there's a spectrum. So some are really highly sensitive for light and others are really sensitive for crowds. I'm really highly sensitive for energy of other people, so it depends. There's a question. Carl Jung proposed his personality profiles. It was get the intuitive. Yes. How can an intuitive leader balance their decision making? That's a nice, it's a really good quality to have if you're an intuitive. I was working together as an e-learning project leader together with my colleague who was very he checked I was the visualizer, I did the authoring of the courses, and he looked at it with a second glance and said, oh, you need to do this and that, and we were two brains in one. But my point is, like, I'm intuitive, and he was like as straight as they come in black and white. Like, he didn't do anything with the heart, he was very rational. I needed that, but because I'm going overboard with this is how I feel, what the industry needs. So you will need that kind of balance, that. But I believe in follow your heart or your intuition, and know how to follow your intuition is really important. Like, if you want to look up, it's called emotional guidance system, or GPS for your emotions. Gabriel Bernstein talked about this, and there's an easy way to check up in your emotions are always like, how does it feel? Like, I do an HSP group once a month or something. Yeah, you're all invited, by the way. And there was this guy, a doctor, who was in there, and he wasn't an HSP or an empath. And I was wondering, he sort of triggered us all a little bit, and he started to rationalize and explain a lot of things of how the brain operates and works. I said, that's all very nice, but how does it feel? And he had no idea what I meant. Bless him. He was totally switched on here and totally switched off anywhere, because he can think something, and then you can feel that something doesn't agree with you. It's like it's all the right decision for your team, but your intuition says no. And I would say follow the intuition, because I think your intuition comes from your subconscious, and that is, it keeps the heart pumping, it's get your blood round, and it keeps you breathing there. It's far more intelligent than your 10% of your headspace up here. So that's the infinite intelligence that I think you should just tap into.
Right. We have around 4 minutes if anyone has another question or if they want to ask it, so then they can just do the hand raise thing and can unmute. If not, then we can proceed to the networking mixer thing. But thank you so much for doing the session. I think it's been really insightful. And of course, this is the
Thank you.
second time I've been attending it, because we had it last week and we're doing it now as well. And I think it's been a really insightful one. For those that have attended, at the end of the session, as always, you will receive an email from Luma that asks you to rate it. I would recommend rating as much as you like, and also giving feedback specifically for just the workshop. So this is a feedback that Taniki can then use in her future whenever she needs to, and it'd be great for her to have. So, all right. What we're going to do now, I'm just going to